Well, welcome out there once again to my program. Always a pleasure to be here, and always a pleasure to have you out there in the audience. I want to read the tip of the week that I have, which is this concerns contract. If you enter into a contract with anyone, it must be, you might call a meeting of the minds. It has to be a mutual consent to the contract. Both parties must know what they're contracting for and about. And a contract has an offer and acceptance. And one thing about the offer and acceptance, whatever the offer is, the acceptance has to mirror the offer. If you make an offer and the person who supposedly is going to accept or accepts, but they make a change and they say, well, you know, I agree to everything except this, or I want to add that. Well, then you don't have a contract. And that gets into a situation with people, parties, they say, well, we have a contract, and they want to sue on the contract. But do they really have a contract? Was all the terms agreed upon? Were they open, clear, that both parties understood? So you can't add, you can't vary things and then say, well, we have a contract, because it's not a contract. It has to be precisely the same as far as both parties are concerned, and doubly so in a sense of what they call the statute of frauds. Now, there were various contracts, but a land contract falls within the ambit of the statute of frauds. And what the statute of frauds basically says, that if you're going to sell a piece of land, it must be in writing. There is no such thing as a verbal agreement in the sale of a piece of land or things that affect land. It must be in writing, and it must be signed. So if you have say a real estate transaction, and someone wants to purchase a house, there's got to be a writing. There has to be a meeting of the minds, an offer, an acceptance, and in the same terms. Once again, it's got to be in writing, and it has to be signed. So keep that in mind when you are entering into any type of contract, and especially if it has to deal with land, it's going to be in writing. The other thing I want to mention is that we have, once again, the Miller Monument celebration that's coming up May 28th. That's Memorial Day. That's at 11:30 at the Miller Monument at the intersection of South Main and Shove Street. Last year we were there, and it really rained, but I'm going to tell you, it was a good turnout. People just, who knows why, but they were there. It rained through the whole ceremony, but it was one of the best we ever had. So come May 28th, and a little background, Corporal David Miller, who lived across the street from the monument, found himself during World War II in the Philippines when the Japanese invaded. American and Filipino soldiers were trapped, were cornered. There was a 3-month battle. It was called the Battle of Bataan. But in the end, they had to surrender because of lack of water, medical supplies, no ammunition. They were just plain exhausted. However, the Japanese didn't accord them proper treatment. They were forced on what they call a Bataan death march, and thousands of Filipinos died, and many, many Americans died. The numbers goes from 650 to 2,000 to 3,000. The figures are not too exact, but they were forced to march approximately 70 miles, and it was a brutal, brutal march. Hot. Once again, they didn't have any water, no medical supplies, and the Japanese were actually killing prisoners who couldn't keep up. So we'll be there Monday the 28th. I have a couple of guests I'm going to get to right now. They've been on a number of times before. Always a pleasure to have them on. School Committee Man Joseph Martins.
Hi.
And ex-School Committee Man Gabe Andrade. So how's your retirement been from the school committee?
It's been pretty good. It's good not to have to worry about some of these issues that come up periodically. So, of course, I went from that to spending more time with my grandchildren, and that's a mixed bag, but it's more good than bad.
So what's the big issue in the school department these days, Gabe? That you don't have to worry about.
I don't know because I haven't been paying as much attention. I've just come back actually from Portugal. I've been away for a week and a half or so, almost a week and a half. So I really knew.
Does that mean the Azores?
No, both. We spent some time on the mainland, and then we went to see two islands that we would normally not have seen. The islands of Pico and Fayal. So Fayal was big during the whaling days. It was a stopover for whalers. They would take on not only supplies but sometimes hands to work the ships. So it was interesting.
Joe, what's going on? And you must have the inside information in the school department. What's the big issues or issue?
Well, just of course the new Durfee. That's always a big issue. Anxious to see that actually starting. They've done some preliminary testing of the land that's going to be on. And we'll see how things go. Should
So
be going well.
where are they testing?
Just
Because
to,
last time they tested that land and they built the school and they built the athletic fields, and they found out later on they flooded it.
well, that's what they're
Are they
looking-
doing good tests this time?
Oh, I'm sure they are. If they're not, then and I find out about it, then I'll squawk. But I haven't heard anything negative about the test diggings that's been going on.
The borings? Are they doing borings? Is that it?
I don't know if they're actually boring, like a pile driver type thing, but I know that they had some pretty heavy equipment in there to dig some trenches and whatnot, so maybe they're like the footings and stuff like that to be installed. So it's going to take some time, and the progress is going to be slow at this point in time.
What's the estimated time in regards to when the school will be finished?
I think it's September of 2021.
Well, 3 years from now, 2.5 years from now.
Right.
So they're going to hopefully open in September of 21.
Yeah.
All
Because
right.
we're in the well, 18 now, but the fiscal year it ends in June. June 30th.
Yeah.
And then it becomes FY19. It'll take about 2.5 years to build it totally.
Now, while they're building the new school, the old school will remain
Correct.
where it is.
Right.
And then when the new school is completed, the old school will be taken down?
Correct. Except for the auditorium.
The auditorium remain.
And
Now,
the gym. And the gym.
And the gym, right, yeah, and the field house. The field house stays.
Now,
And the,
will that auditorium be connected to the new high school?
no,
All right. Will that auditorium be part of the school department? Building of the school department?
That's yet to be determined. It might end up being like a dual ownership, the city and the school department, so that the city can have functions in it, and so can the school department have
There
functions
was any
in it.
talk about maybe that building actually being leased out to a private theater group that they could manage and put on functions, however, provided that the school be able to use it also. So that the school is out of maintaining it.
Well, we need some office space and some parking area. The the office that currently where the parent center is, there's very limited parking there, so that you know, a portion of the ground floor, well, it is all ground floor, but would be used for like the some of the special ed offices. The
And that's going to be in the auditorium building?
in the auditorium building, yes.
Is that, the new school, how many stories will that be?
3, is it?
I thought it might have been 4, but I'm not. Don't hold me to it. It's at least 3. It might be 4.
3 to 4?
Right.
Yeah.
So because they're going up with that, as opposed to what we have now, which is sometimes 3, sometimes 1. It's a really a.
I'm not sure about the 4. I'm pretty positive about the 3.
Yeah, you may be right.
3,
So it'll be 3 up and level across.
Level across, right, as opposed to the structure we have now.
Which is not,
It's 1 in one place in some areas, 2, 3. It's built into the side of a hill, so the back, even though you have a 3rd and 4th floor, there's no 1st and 2nd, all the way to the back.
oh, I see.
So it's it really is a strange setup, to be
Yeah.
honest.
All right, so that's in progress. Well, here we are in April, school year will be over before we even know it.
That's for sure.
How are the graduation rates as far as high school these days?
The last figure that I had for this goes now to FY16, I guess it is, school year 16. That graduation rate is somewhere around 82%, which is an increase, which is good.
It's certainly higher than it was when I started working at Durfee.
What was it back then?
I can't remember, but it was nowhere near that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it was even 50%. I'll give you one figure that's going to sound alarming. We might have had a freshman class of over 1,000 students, maybe 1,200 or more. You would have, typically in many of the years that I was there, you might have 400 graduate, 400, between 400 and 500 graduate. So it was
Pretty dismal when you say
yeah.
1,000,
Now,
1,200
now,
students.
that also counted students who did not complete the high school in 4 years. So you might have had repeaters who didn't necessarily leave. They're still there, and they increased the numbers of the classes below, like a freshman class. So you might have had 200 repeaters among the freshman class. So that accounted for some of it, but not all. There were a lot of people who just left.
Let me ask you this question. Typical high school, 4 years, and you're out.
That's not how it goes now.
Okay, that's my question. How many years? How many years can you put in before you can leave or get your diploma?
Right now, you can have, if you do not have the credits to graduate, and you expected to graduate in, say, 2018, but you don't have the credits to do so.
Yeah.
You have to go to summer school. Fine, you go to summer school, you get the credits in there. You're still considered as a 2018 graduation rate at that point in time. Okay, in there. If you can have up through 1 year, as long as and you're not going into graduation of class of 2019.
So in other words, you can actually graduate even though you've gone to the high school for 5 years? Is that?
Okay.
You could be taking some courses over at BCC to,
Yeah, but I mean,
to
what
make
I'm
it
trying to just, can you be there for 5 years or
Yes.
6 years
Yes.
in a high school?
Finally,
I don't know, I can't remember whether there was a
I mean,
cutoff where...
does it come
where-
to a point when they say, that's it, you gotta leave, because you've been here for 7 years?
no, it
I-
doesn't go that far.
Yeah,
John, you know, I mean, I'm exaggerating,
Yeah,
but
At
when
at some point, I'm sure, and I can't remember what it was. There's a point where they would just cut their ties with the student. However, a 5-year person, yes, that was very common.
all right, what about the athletics aspect? You know, I mean, if you get someone in there who is, you know, he's 2 years or 3 years behind as far as graduation, can he still play athletics? Because now you're dealing with someone who is much stronger and older.
There is an age limit, and I think it might have been 19. So in other words, once you hit 19, you're
That's
no
it.
longer eligible.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure there was the age limit.
There's
And
an
the other
MSAA
thing-
rule.
Correct. And there was, and of course there was a question of the number of years you've played. You could not play more than, you did not have more than 4 years of high school eligibility. So you could not, if you played 4 years, you can't, and you have to come back for a 5th year. You are no longer eligible for that 5th year.
In baseball, if you played 4 years.
And now there are possibilities for waivers. They would have to, the principal or his designee would have to petition the MIAA for, you know, if there's special circumstances with this particular individual or whatever, and the MIAA could approve that or not.
Well, what about all the schools who might protest and say, you know, this guy's 20 years old?
But they also have the ability to petition the MIAA to review a case of a particular individual they may have. So
But they do not allow it to happen where you have someone who is a superstar solely to be able to put that student on a team so that the school looks like, wow, I've got a fantastic basketball team or a football team.
So all the teachers flunked this guy, so he could stay.
Right,
He could stay in school to play basketball.
yeah, I think usually it would have to be a hardship for the MIA to approve one of those situations. It would have to be a hardship. The kid missed out a year of school because of some illness or some terrible injury
Well, I
or
can
whatever.
understand some of that, but I guess if they've played 4 years of baseball, you can't play a 5th year.
Right.
That's all right. So that pretty much. I'm going to read something here that I happened to run across, and this is from the governor. Baker Polito administration in City of Boston announced historic tuition-free college program. I'm going to read this little section here, get an idea what you think about this. It says the Commonwealth Commitment offers deeply discounted tuition and fees to Massachusetts residents who earn a bachelor's degree at any public 4-year institution after first earning an associate's degree at any one of the state's community colleges, while maintaining a 3-point grade average and graduating within 4.5 years. Now, through this partnership, students from Boston who qualified to participate in a Commonwealth commitment will not have to pay tuition or mandatory fees to earn their bachelor's degrees. I guess my question is, what is special about students in Boston versus a student here in Fall River?
There shouldn't be any difference.
How do they get away? This is rhetorical. I don't expect an answer, but how do they get away with this? Where are the legislators to say in this area this is really unfair?
I don't know if there was there's something that's unsaid or even hinted at, where maybe they were completing some other requirements or whatever in order to get this. But if it is at face value, just as you, it seems as if you said, read from there, it doesn't sound fair. We're all citizens of the same Commonwealth, and you would think that whatever the program would apply to everyone.
I agree with that. One of the things that that's hot off the press, so it's like brand new. But when as we read that, and it says that they do not pay tuition or fees
Yeah.
after they receive an associate's degree from a community college.
Boston students.
Isn't that the same thing for the non-Boston residents?
Well, it says Boston students. I mean, it doesn't say.
No,
It says
the first part,
students
what you
from
read.
Boston who qualify.
Right.
It doesn't say students from the Commonwealth.
No, but read the sentence. Read the sentence at the beginning part where it made about saying that.
Well, okay, I'll read that. It says a Commonwealth Commitment offers deeply discounted tuition, discounted,
Discounted.
and fees to Massachusetts residents, that's everybody, who earn a bachelor's degree at any public four-year institution. After first earning an associate's degree.
Hey, no, stop there.
Okay.
Does that mean they have to pay tuition and fees for the associate's degree?
It says a bachelor's degree.
I know, but after they receive an associate's degree. That's what you just read, from after you receive an associate's
yeah,
degree. So therefore, is it where they have to pay fees and tuition for the associate's degree? And then my next question would be...
Well, it doesn't say anything about that. It basically, it says Mass residents who earn a bachelor's degree at any public four-year institution after first earning an associate's degree at any one of the state's community college while maintaining a 3-point grade average and graduating from within 4.5 years. So it mentions nothing about fees or tuition at the associate degree level.
Like, as you're going through, you've got that's one question that I'd have. What about the fees and tuition for an associate's degree?
Well, it really is not getting into that. This is getting into my emphasis, and this emphasis is on Boston students.
Right.
So it basically says pretty clear, students from Boston who qualify to participate in a Commonwealth commitment will not have to pay tuition or mandatory fees to earn a bachelor's degree. It says nothing about someone from Fall River. It says nothing about people from Massachusetts in general. It's a special program for students in Boston.
I agree. I disagree with the concept. I mean, it's wrong as far as I'm concerned with regards to you're favoring Boston young people, but the heck with everybody else.
Well, maybe that's something for the school committee to look into. School district here in Fall River, and say, maybe they can look into it and say, well, this would be nice if you have some sort of a program here for Fall River students. We do pay taxes, Joe.
No, really?
We send it up in the state returns.
If you can make a copy of that, I'd gladly bring that up as new business. The school committee said, hey, look at what I found.
Read it good. I mean, maybe there's something, but it does say clearly Boston students. So I don't, take it, you read it, and I know you're a stickler when it comes to detail.
Yeah, absolutely so. Right. When it comes to money, absolutely.
Look, this is a poor area. That's all they always talk about. People in Fall River generally don't have big jobs, low education, low earnings. Maybe we need a pilot program down here. We're a gateway city to what? I mean, that's a big joke. They ought to stop using that term, gateway city.
Every city in Massachusetts has become a gateway city. Everyone above something like 30,000 people, they're considered as a gateway city.
Careful.
Most immigrants don't go to immediately to the suburbs. They come to one of the cities. So.
You know, Ellis Island, New York City, that was a gateway city, and then they bolted out west, south, California.
You know what I've noticed when you mention New York? I see more and more vehicles in Fall River with New York registration plates. Where are all these people coming from? Obviously New York, but why?
You know why.
But they have some pretty nice cars.
You know, you go to a dealership today, and if you don't walk out with a new car, I'd be surprised, because they practically give them away. Everyone's riding around with a new car.
Where can I get a new
So
Porsche?
somebody didn't tell you about that.
Well, what about this, Gabe? I don't know if this is correct or not, but this "Make It in Fall River," it's a new slogan.
Well, it's not that new. This is going back about a year now.
All
Yeah,
right.
but it's the new branding.
Okay,
Yeah.
the new branding. But there was a column in the Herald News,
I saw it.
and it said that the banners that are used for this marketing program are not made in not made in Fall River.
Are they made in the United States?
Yeah, they are. They're made in New York.
Oh, in New York.
Yep.
Can we?
We used to. It used to be a
We could
center for
make anything.
textiles.
Yeah, I mean, we had the best clothing
Right.
factories, Anderson, Little. I mean, it was all throughout the city. No one walked around Fall River that couldn't be well dressed. So why? I mean, this is really odd to have these things made in New York. And not,
When you're trying to push
Yeah,
the
make it
city
in
as a
Fall
place
River.
where
Make it,
you
yeah.
can make things, or you can make yourself. You can remake yourself.
this is extremely odd. What do you think of this, Gabe?
I thought that you would reinforce the message by having it made here, and I'm sure that it could very well have been made here.
At least the banners that are going to be out there promoting "Make It Here in Fall River." Joe,
I'm sure they could be made here, because there are still some needle trade companies
Yes.
in Fall River. There's one that makes towels, some pretty fancy
Oh,
towels.
Industrial Park. There's
Right.
someone who makes T-shirts and things
Yes,
like that.
absolutely so.
So,
And you have another one right on, what's it, right, County Street?
Yeah. okay,
Whoops.
I gotta close it down. Look, it's gone by pretty quickly.
Well, time
I wanna-
flies
I wanna
when
thank
you're
you,
enjoying yourself on
gentlemen,
this
for
show.
being here. 3 weeks from today.
Yes.
Thank you out there for watching, and I'll see you next time.